Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Boozer here. Today's video, we're just going to talk about the most recent Hydra rotation. Since the rotation just dropped yesterday, so I figured we'd go over quickly some tips and just an analysis of the starting rotation so you guys get the most success from doing your Hydras for the next month. It's rotation 2. We'll jump into it. So this is your starting lineup. I did prepare a my usual spreadsheet for you guys. So this is rotation 2 Hydra. We got the head of Blight, which is the poison head. It's force affinity this time. It's the one that spits out lots of poisons. And then that's not even the worst part of the head of Blight. It also has a move that basically clouds the entire Hydra team with a poison cloud that makes all your hits weak hit them unless they are under HP burn. So super annoying head, hits you really hard, deals a lot of damage to your team and protects their team. Sometimes it can cripple your run if the poison cloud is applied. So the way to deal with this head, you have to cleanse, heal, or obviously revive your team from the damage that it deals to you. You can place block buffs on the Hydra team to block the poison cloud buff that it applies to the team. That is the easiest way to deal with it. Or you can have HP burns that you can place on the heads beforehand so that you can still interact with the heads and not weak hit. Or you can have HP burners that can place HP burns instead of hitting them. So basically you need HP burns that place instead of attack, and then you apply the HP burn, because once you attack and you weak hit, then those HP burns don't apply anymore. But as you can see, a champion like Geomancer places the burns without actually attacking, so there is no chance of a weak hit, and thus a champion like Geomancer can apply the HP burn, and then you basically neglect the poison cloud. So super annoying head, but honestly it's not so bad. It's not a super tanky head, so you can kill it relatively easily, and yeah, it's manageable. Up next is the head of Torment. So we had this head last rotation. It's the fear head. It applies fears on you if you attack into it. Easiest MVP champion to deal with this is Shamail. Shamail is listed right here as the top choice to deal with the head of Torment. Other than that, you can deal with it with Veil champions or cleansing the fear debuffs. Otherwise, it's a pretty good head if you have Shamail. If not, then I can see how it can be a little bit annoying. I'll move my head here. Up next, we have the head of Wrath. The head of Wrath honestly ends my run more than any other head, because if you're not ready for him, he just wipes your team. So the way you deal with him is you have to block his buffs, because he applies attack up on himself, reflect damage, and block debuffs, which is super annoying. So his damage gets cranked up, and then he's really hard to debuff afterwards. And basically just removing the buffs from him. Other ways is to apply attack down on him, so that'll weaken him quite a bit, makes it a lot easier for your team to survive the big hit. And then you need some kind of healing or reviving. He also places a provoke on your team as well, so some resistance or a cleanser can help there as well. Anything that can increase your team's survivability, like damage reduction, shields, ally protection, will definitely be useful against the head of Suffering. Oh, sorry, I misspoke. I'm talking about the head of Wrath. This is actually the yeah, sorry, it's the head of Wrath. I misspoke. Sorry, I thought I mistyped actually. So this is the head of Wrath, not the head of Suffering. Sorry, so head of Wrath. Yeah, that's the damage head that can wipe out your whole team. So just be careful with this head. Definitely get ready for his big attack when you hit 15 stacks. He has a timer on himself for 15 stacks, so definitely be ready for that. Block buffs and attack down, and then healing if you can swing it to deal with this head. Head of Mischief is the head that steals buffs from the champion on your team that has the most buffs. So it can be manipulated with some champions that self buff themselves to give themselves extra buffs, or maybe if you have like a divine Divine Shield ring, Divine Shield set, or Blood Shield ring. Then you can apply extra buffs to yourself to basically lure the Head of Mischief to attack you. That can work as well. You need resistance to resist the Head of Mischief. The other way to deal with him is to block buffs. So when you block the Head of Mischief from applying buffs to himself, that means he cannot spread any buffs to his team. So Hex is another thing that's kind of important, if you can swing Hex, because if the Head of Mischief eats a champion, you're going to need AoE to deal with him. So if you don't have AoE, or if it eats your AoE champion, then you really need Hex, because all your damage is going to be RNG'd away from the Head of Mischief, because it can deflect your attacks. So there's a couple pointers, a couple things here to make note. So I've listed some, but not exhaustive list of champions that provide some of the key debuffs, or buffs. Cleansers up here, cleansers, revivers, sustain champions. We have fear, torment dealing champions here, and then we have block buffs, attack down, various champions with various utility. This is Hex champions, and then these are general damage dealers across the different difficulties. So you have max HP, you have HP burn, you have big nukers, and then these are general top supports, in my opinion, that will be good throughout all difficulties. So I want to say that because there's 2 starting force heads, Ugo might not be as good, because missing a block buff on the Head of Mischief is super annoying, and obviously missing a block buff on any of the heads will be very annoying with the Poison Cloud. So keep in mind that you might want to consider someone like Lydia, which is force, or you might want to consider someone like Kantra, which is force affinity, which can apply through weak hits. So just something to consider. Ugo is probably still, top tier block buff AoE champion. And in this rotation, Geomancer is the for sure MVP. Geomancer is the little guy that does so much. He does damage reduction, he protects your team, he places the HP burn, so if a Poison Cloud does land on the Hydra head, you can deal with it. So and he does a ton of damage himself. Yeah, so Geomancer is going to do a lot in this starting rotation. I mean, he's usually really good, and he'll be even better since the Head of Wrath will power him up. Basically, when your team takes damage from the Head of Wrath, he will deal more damage to the heads that he has applied the HP burn to. So he's just going to be a super powered epic this rotation. He's always very good, but in this rotation, he's particularly good. The Head of Blight also powers him up with his big poison attack. So that's another thing to look out for. If you have a Geomancer, congratulations. One of my accounts does not have Geomancer, so sad face for me, but I make do without him. Yeah, and then on the bench, we have the Head of Suffering, Force Head, Tanky Head, and then we have the Provoke Head of Decay on the bench as well. So does this mean that you can totally forego having a Provoke champion on your team? It's always good to have. It's always good to have a Provoke champion, and it's always good to be ready for the head of Decay if he shows up. So just something to keep in mind. That this is where like somebody like Vivold's actually really good. Like he brings additional utility as well as Provoke, like Leech and Shield. So he has Sustain, and if the Head of Decay does show up, then Bivold can deal with them. Similar to Kantra, she brings a lot of different utility as well as Provoke. So those are really good champions for this as well. And obviously, if you have a Provoke set on somebody, I wouldn't unequip them for this rotation, just because I would still keep the Provoke set on them, of course. Here are the stats for the Hydra heads for your reference. If you guys are doing, depending on what difficulty you guys are doing, these are the stats for the heads themselves, not the recommended stats for your champions. So make sure you guys gear accordingly. Generally, you want 100 accuracy. You want 100 resistance more than their accuracy to to basically have about a 90% chance of resisting, and you want the same amount of accuracy as their resistance for approximately, I believe it's 94% chance of applying your debuffs. So whatever their resistance is, you want to at least match it with your accuracy, and then you should be pretty good generally. And for accuracy, you want to add 100 resistance. So that's how I would read this. Speed is all relative. Whatever you can do is always good. So you see the fastest Hydra head is 250 in Nightmare. Anywhere between 200 and 250 for all difficulties is pretty solid. So yeah. Anyways, hopefully this was at least provided some information for you guys. I usually do these every rotation. I haven't had a chance to do my runs yet, so I can't really show you the teams that I put together myself. I might do that in a separate video, so that might happen. I definitely obviously will do all my keys, but it's going to be something like Shamail will be anchoring the team, and then I'll probably throw one of the cleansers like Mithrala, and yeah, it should be a relatively good Shamail, like with Torment in the rotation. It's going to be a relatively straightforward rotation if you have Shamail, basically, because the head of Torment and Shamail will make your whole team better, and yeah, so obviously Geomancer is going to be MVP if you have him. He's going to be in every team, and yeah. Anyways, make it short and sweet. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and best of luck on your Hydras for the month. Shouldn't be too bad if you guys have Shamail, or if you guys did well in the last rotation. Take care, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.